The date is June 14th, 2025. A game has just surpassed Fortnite's concurrent player count of 15.3 million people, and breaking that record a second time by a significant margin, reaching 21.3 million players. Now, you're probably thinking this game must have been revolutionary to surpass Prime Fortnite, which had almost the entire world taken by storm. So what is this game? Grow a Garden. In this video, I'll go over some basic facts about Grow a Garden, but later on I'll be discussing the dark history that Grow a Garden is built off of, and how some of the actions from the people behind Grow a Garden have ruined games, game developers' lives and careers, and much more. And for those of you that don't know, Grow a Garden is a relatively simple game. You buy seeds from the shop, you plant them on your land, and then you can sell these for money to buy more seeds and garden-related items. The game first released on March 25th of 2025, and in only 3 months after releasing managed to break one of the biggest game records of all time. Grow a Garden first started becoming popular after being acquired by its now lead developer, Jansen Madsen, who also goes by Jandel, having around 2,000 players at the time, which isn't bad for a Roblox game, but it's definitely not shocking numbers. But by May 17th, it had already set a record for Roblox, reaching 5 million concurrent players, then proceeding to break its own record again, and again twice in the following weekend. Now, I spoke on the lead developer taking over the game, who everybody knows the name of, Jandel, but what many people don't know is the game was originally created by a 16-year-old who was originally anonymous, going by the online username BMW Lux. But under his ownership, the game had already gained significant popularity, but then its development was taken over by Splitting Point Studios, led by Jandel, which is kind of crazy to think about the game breaking all-time records in gaming on a Roblox, generating potentially 9 figures of revenue. Was originally started by somebody just 16 years of age. So it's easy to understand how games like Fortnite and the previous Roblox record holder Bloxfruits held these staggering numbers, as Fortnite was revolutionary as a battle royale that changed gaming forever, with kids, teens and adults all around the globe playing non-stop, and Bloxfruits capitalizing on the rising trend of One Piece alongside their incredible world building and graphic design, considering they are a Roblox game. So you can understand how these two games reached their respective records. But how did Grow a Garden do with such a limited game? Well, first of all, Grow a Garden is compatible on all devices without taking anything away from the experience, whereas in games like Fortnite and Bloxfruits, certain devices like mobile and console may be a huge disadvantage and find it hard to use the features in the game, or find the game too difficult. But since Grow a Garden's core mechanics are quite simple, they don't really have this issue, which means they can appeal to literally everybody on Earth at the moment. But there's a couple of darker secrets the game used to reach 21.3 million concurrent players. Earlier on I said the game's very little pay to win, and they don't have many pay to win features, which makes it an easier game for the people to get into, but at the same time, the pay to win factors is one of the biggest controversies, as Grow a Garden, for some reason, despite being a peaceful game about gardening and growing fruits, decided to add a pay to steal feature, where you can directly take from other players for a small fee. Now, on top of the fact this is horrible for some players, it also means if a player pays a small sum of 30 Robux, they can instantly get one of the best things in the game, skipping the entire progress of the game, and it's confusing why they went this route, instead of just adding game passes and things that allow you to get a boost that are normalized at being like 400 and 800 Robux, which is considerably more than 30 Robux that it costs to steal, and it means players actually can play the game, meaning their player count should be higher from people actually playing the game to progress. Now, it's confusing why they would miss out on revenue and miss out on their all-time player count being higher from people actually playing the game, but 90% of their player base that have good stuff in the game are too scared to join public servers and hide out in private servers, otherwise their best stuff's just all going to get stolen, which defeats one of the only competitive aspects of the game, in the friendly competition people have when they compare their gardens, as you aren't even allowed to join the game with other people without the fear of losing all that you've worked for, so it kind of defeats the purpose of progression in the game. Another big issue with the way that Grow a Garden is built is that they heavily reward AFKing. Now, this is nothing abnormal, as a lot of games have features such as AFK chambers or worlds where you can go AFK to get small amounts of currency, but with Grow a Garden, the main way to progress and get more expensive items is by getting the weather effect on them, which you can only really do by just waiting around. And since there's nothing to do to progress the game and it's just waiting, pretty much everybody will just AFK the game 24/7 when they aren't online, which heavily helps carry their insane player counts, because the game is pretty much just one big AFK chamber, meaning their records for player counts are sort of fraudulent, as most people aren't even playing, they're just AFK. And speaking on the fraudulent player counts, the events is probably the worst way they do this. Grow a Garden are well known for their events on updates, where their player counts seem to spike to insane numbers, where instead of just closing the game and releasing a new version and that's it, they instead interact with the community and release new weathers and put rare seeds in the stock. And this may seem like a wholesome way to do an update and interact with the community, but they also densely release rare seeds and weather events in that few hour period, meaning if you're a Grow a Garden player, you're probably missing out on 90% of what the game has to offer, if you do not play this game. So you're missing out on a week's worth of good items, good seeds, good weathers if you don't come online for the update. So you're basically forced and pressured to be online if you want to get good stuff, which leads to pretty much their entire player base coming on at once, which helps them reach these insane numbers to break these records. This may seem normal, but I think pressuring your entire community to come online at the same time out of fear of missing out is a little bit shady way to get players. And when Grow a Garden hits these insane numbers, it kind of creates a snowball effect that now everybody's talking about it breaking records and hitting these insane numbers, so at least the more people playing the game, and considering it's quite a neutral game that nobody could dislike, alongside no skill factors that may make people dislike the game, it's easy to see how these factors all together have propelled the game to not only the top of Roblox, but the top of gaming altogether. Now what I've just mentioned is part of the game's development that I don't like, but it seriously gets a lot worse than using psychological tricks to get people to play their game. Earlier I said there's an anonymous developer named BMW Lux that made the game, but that's not entirely true. After some digging I saw some people referring to him as Adrian, and after finding this out I also found out he's been involved in some not just shady, but immoral and borderline evil business practices, including doxing, stealing and DMCA abuse. The biggest of these allegations comes from Joshua's Minecraft on Twitter, who is a Roblox developer who threw some pretty large allegations at the creator of Grow a Garden. He first off makes a tweet accusing him of doxing, scamming and DMCA abuse. He states that in 2022 they shared a group together where they had built a game reaching 1,000 players under a 50-50 revenue deal, where he sends 2 screenshots alleging that Adrian kicked him from the group and stole the revenue going forwards. And when Joshua and Minecraft first came forwards with this information exposing Adrian then allegedly threatened twice to dox Joshua. And it doesn't just end with Joshua, as he's been accused of backdooring and leaking projects he's been involved in, and even going as far as stealing the games he's hired to help build and releasing them as his own without the creator's permission. But it doesn't just end with projects he's involved in, as he's also been accused by many developers of stealing their games, getting them pushed to the front page, and then using Roblox's DMCA system to falsely take down the original games, and is alleged to have been doing this for years. And despite being exposed by multiple creators and developers multiple times, Roblox failed to do anything to stop him. And it's not just Joshua's Minecraft making these allegations, but a whole list of people who replied with evidence or their stories of Adrian on the Twitter thread that Joshua made. One huge allegation he's faced of copying a game and then trying to strong arm the original into being taken down is a game called Snowball, who has shown both the copy and their own side by side, and it's actually insane how shamelessly he's copied the game. And he had the audacity to file a DMCA takedown of the original, but it doesn't just end with Snowball, but he's done the same thing with a game called Crazy Chef, which I've seen mentioned in the comments of the video that I was watching about Snowball, and on the original Twitter thread by Joshua. And these stories seem to get little to no traction for some reason, given that these are huge allegations against the owner of the biggest Roblox game of all time and one of the biggest games to ever exist, but it's managed to keep Grow a Garden's reputation squeaky clean and nothing's ever come of it. So this is clearly not an isolated situation, but somebody who thinks they're immune to consequence, who has gone after multiple people, their games, their work, and not just that, but their livelihoods. Now he sits on a throne making revenue of the biggest game on Roblox and seems more untouchable than ever. And looping back to an earlier person of interest, Jandel has also made comments defending his actions and stating that he actively knows what Adrian's been doing and is still working with him, obviously just for the sake of the money, but it's kind of disgusting that even the people around him don't hold him accountable for his actions, with Jandel saying statements such as, "He's just young and he's still young," using that to defend Adrian's actions, which doesn't really defend him because he's 16, he's not a child, he's not just a 14, 13-year-old, he's almost a fully grown adult, and he's just doing straight up immoral actions, stealing from people and trying to ruin their lives for the sake of money. Now everything I've just said here is still technically alleged, but most of the information is public and it's pretty hard to deny, not to mention it's not just 1, 2, 3 or 4 or 5, but so many developers and game owners speaking out about Adrian's actions over the years, and if they are true, it's one of the darkest rises to Roblox fame that the platform's ever seen. Although, there is a good ending, as after all this has come out, Roblox has apparently terminated his account, but also it said that he's still getting a revenue split of the game's revenue, and because he was the original creator, he's making up to 50% of the game's revenue, which is estimated to be over 5 million a month and potentially into low 9-figure revenue, meaning he could be worth 100 million. This is all I can go over about the dark stuff he's done in this video, otherwise I'll just be repeating more and more of the same cases and same type of allegations that Adrian's been involved in. As he's done it so many times to so many people, there's no way I can cover all of it. I recommend you check out this video, which originally put me onto a lot of these allegations, alongside Joshua's Minecraft's original thread on x.com, where most of the people have come out about the game. But that's all for this video. If you did enjoy or learn something, please like and subscribe, comment your thoughts, and thanks for watching.